Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. In this video we are going to practice creating some yes or no questions in Spanish. Yes or no questions are different from interrogative questions. An interrogative question will simply begin with a question word or an interrogative like why, por qué, when, cuándo, how, cómo. Okay, so these are yes or no questions, and yes or no questions, keep in mind in English, usually start with the emphatic do. We always start with do, like, do you speak Spanish? Do you know the answer? Do you have the time? Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at how we make yes or no questions in Spanish. Remember, study the topic in your textbook. There's also a grammar tutorial video on how to create yes or no questions. You can also Google the topic, making yes or no questions in Spanish, and you might find some websites and some YouTube videos that explain how to make yes or no questions. It's actually very simple. So let's go ahead and start with a statement. You can always make a yes or no question out of a simple statement. So here we have Usted habla español. Usted habla español. You speak Spanish. And the simplest way of making a question out of this is to just change your intonation in Spanish and then of course add the question mark. So for making a statement, you have a pretty even intonation throughout the statement and it does drop slightly at the end. So Usted habla español. Usted habla español. It drops off a little bit at the end. To make a question, you just adjust your intonation to rise a little bit towards the end. So the question would sound like, ¿Usted habla español? ¿Usted habla español? And it would look like this. ¿Usted habla español? ¿Usted habla español? So again, a little bit of a rise in intonation towards the end, and we have a question, very simple. Okay, the other way of asking the question or making a question out of the statement is to simply switch the word order of the subject and the verb. So you'll use the conjugated verb first, then the subject, and then whatever other element after that. So this statement would become, ¿Habla usted español? ¿Habla usted español? ¿Habla usted español? Do you speak Spanish? Remember, again, in English, we use the emphatic do. And remember when we talked about in a separate video when we went over the conjugation of the present tense, you can have 3 different meanings for a conjugated verb in Spanish, and one of those is the emphatic do. For example, if I go back to this, Usted habla español can mean one of 3 things. It can mean you speak Spanish, you do speak Spanish, or you are speaking Spanish. Notice the second one, you do speak Spanish. That's what we call the emphatic do. And in questions in English, usually begin with the emphatic do. In other words, yes or no questions begin with the emphatic do. So, how would you interpret this in English? Well, the question means, do you speak Spanish? ¿Habla usted español? ¿Habla usted español? Okay, here's another statement. You dance well. ¿Tú bailas bien? Again, it's just a statement. Pretty much even intonation and a little bit of a drop. ¿Tú bailas bien? ¿Tú bailas bien? ¿Tú bailas bien? You dance well. If I want to make a question out of this, well, you have those 2 options. ¿Tú bailas bien? ¿Tú bailas bien? Adjust your intonation. ¿Tú bailas bien? Do you dance well? Or you can switch the conjugated verb in the subject. ¿Bailas tú bien? ¿Bailas tú bien? And remember also, because of the form of the verb, we don't need this tú when we ask this question because the as ending only goes with the subject tú. There's no ambiguity, so you can drop it and the question would be, ¿Bailas bien? ¿Bailas bien? Do you dance well? Ella habla italiano. A statement. She speaks Italian. Ella habla italiano. Let's make a question out of it. How do you make it a question? A yes or no question. Very simple. Adjust your intonation or change the word order of the subject and the conjugated verb. So we'll have Ella habla italiano. Ella habla italiano. I just put a question mark around my statement there. And then the second way is to switch the subject, and the conjugated verb word order. Habla ella italiano? Habla ella italiano? Nosotros vamos a la playa. We're going to the beach. What would the question be? Nosotros vamos a la playa? Nosotros vamos a la playa. A little bit of a rise in intonation there. Or you can switch the word order. Vamos nosotros a la playa? Vamos nosotros a la playa? And you can leave out the nosotros because of the verb form and simply ask the question, ¿Vamos a la playa? Are we going to the beach? Ellos comen sandía. Ellos comen sandía. They eat watermelon. Or this could mean they are eating watermelon. They do eat watermelon. Remember 3 things for the present tense. How would I make a question out of it? Well, ellos comen sandía? Ellos comen sandía? Do they eat watermelon? Or in the progressive, are they eating watermelon? And you can also switch the word order. Comen ellos sandía? Comen ellos sandía? So I'm sure you get the idea at this point. Now let's just make a few more questions out of these statements. Ellos hablan español. Now let's just do the inversion for all of these. Ellos hablan español. They speak Spanish. How would you ask the question, do they speak Spanish? It would simply be, ¿hablan ellos español? ¿Hablan ellos español? ¿Usted tiene un carro? You have a car. How would you ask someone, do you have a car? ¿Tiene usted un carro? ¿Tiene usted un carro? ¿Tú vas al supermercado? You're going to the supermarket. How would you ask, are you going to the supermarket? ¿Vas tú al supermercado? ¿Vas tú al supermercado? And for this one, again, we could leave out the tú. It's not necessary. The question can simply be, ¿vas al supermercado? ¿Vas al supermercado? Ella trabaja en un banco. She works in a bank. So, does she work in a bank would be, again with the inversion, ¿trabaja ella en un banco? ¿Trabaja ella en un banco? Nosotros tenemos bastante dinero. We have enough money. How would you ask a question? Do we have enough money? ¿Tenemos nosotros bastante dinero? ¿Tenemos nosotros bastante dinero? In this question, the nosotros is really unnecessary, so more than likely it would be, ¿tenemos bastante dinero? ¿Tenemos bastante dinero? And the last one, ¿ustedes estudian matemáticas? You study math. So how would you ask the question, do you study math or are you studying math? ¿Estudian ustedes matemáticas? ¿Estudian ustedes matemáticas? Okay, well, I think you're ready to ask yes or no questions in Spanish. So just force yourself to practice a little bit. And that's it for this video. Es todo. Hasta luego.